Mr. President, High Commissioner, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves in a world riddled with uncertainties, growing divisions, and rising insecurity. We are witnessing a backsliding of democratic values and a backlash against the universality of human rights. At this time of geopolitical upheaval, respect of international law and the work of the Human Rights Council is becoming ever more important. 3 years ago, Putin attacked Ukraine and began his unprovoked, brutal, and illegal war of aggression. Since day one, Austria stood in full solidarity with Ukraine, and we will continue to do so. Nobody deserves peace more than the people of Ukraine, but it has to be a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace based on international law, the UN Charter, and the Helsinki Decalogue. A peace that guarantees the interests of Ukraine and the European continent. And let me be very clear. It is Putin and his henchmen who started this war. They bear the full responsibility for the suffering they have caused. In this context, Austria fully supports the efforts of the Commission of Inquiry in Vienna. In the Middle East, the barbaric terror attack of Hamas against Israel has brought a new dimension of devastation to a region not lacking in violence. Israelis are traumatized by the slaughter, torture, and sexual violence of October the 7th. And Palestinians in Gaza are facing a humanitarian tragedy. The ceasefire and release of the first hostages, together with the increased humanitarian assistance to the civilian population, are long overdue steps and a glimmer of hope. But still, hostages are being held captive by terrorists in inhumane conditions. We are convinced that the only option for a peaceful future is a two-state solution. Gaza must remain Palestinian. There must be no forced displacements. International humanitarian law is non-negotiable. It applies all the time, everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we should also be deeply concerned about the alarming humanitarian and human rights situation in places such as Afghanistan, Belarus, Haiti, Iran, Sudan, the Greater Sahel region, and Yemen. And this list could go on. Recent escalations of violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo are particularly worrying. They have left civilians, in particular the most vulnerable groups, exposed to gross human rights violations. In Syria, we might see a ray of hope at the horizon. Austria will strongly support any steps leading towards an inclusive and peaceful transition, safeguarding the rights of all Syrians, especially women and minorities. Excellencies, human rights are the foundation of free societies and thriving communities. We must stand united to protect them. In this respect, the increasing pushback against gender equality poses the risk that hard-won progress achieved over decades slips through our fingers. Women and girls must be able to participate freely in all areas of public and private life, without threat of violence, reprisal, or intimidation. Human rights without women's rights and gender equality are unthinkable. Without human rights for all, there can be no lasting peace, no long-term security, no sustainable development, and no prospering communities. Austria has, and always will be, a champion of the international human rights system. Thank you very much.